Luke and the Garden of Wonders. In a small village, there lived a mischievous boy named Luke. He loved playing tricks on everyone, especially his neighbor, Mrs. Cece, who had a beautiful garden filled with unique plants. Every morning, she could be seen tending to her plants, talking to them as if they were her children. Mrs. Cece's garden was her pride and joy, and she had one special plant that she kept hidden in her garden, a plant with magical healing properties, but Luke didn't care. He would often sneak into her yard and trample her flowers, snap the stems, and even pull out the seedlings she had carefully planted. When Mrs. Cece would catch him, she'd scold him, but he would just laugh and run away. One day, Luke's mother fell very ill. The doctors couldn't find a cure, and the townspeople whispered about how serious her illness was. Luke felt helpless as he watched his mom grow weaker by the day. In desperation, he remembered Mrs. Cece's magical plant, the one everyone in the village believed could heal any sickness. He rushed to Mrs. Cece's door, knocking frantically. She opened it and looked down at Luke with a stern face. "Mrs. Cece," he said, trying to hold back tears, "my mom is very sick, and I was hoping you'd help her with your magic plant." Mrs. Cece hesitated, eyeing him with a mixture of sadness and disappointment. She thought about all the times he had ruined her garden and destroyed the plants she loved. "Luke," she said softly, "plants are delicate things. Just like people, they need care and kindness. Do you think you can be kind and care for others?" Luke's face turned red with shame. For the first time, he understood how much his actions had hurt her. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Cece," he whispered. "I never meant to be so mean. I'll do anything to help my mom, and I promise I'll be better." Mrs. Cece studied his face and saw the sincerity in his eyes. Finally, she sighed and led him to the garden. She picked a single leaf from the magical plant and handed it to him. "This will help your mother, Luke. But remember, true healing begins with kindness. Keep your promise." Luke nodded, clutching the leaf with gratitude. He rushed home, gave the leaf to his mother, and watched as her strength returned. From that day on, he kept his promise, tending to Mrs. Cece's garden and even planting new flowers as a thank you. And as the seasons passed, the garden flourished, blooming with beauty and kindness, just like Luke. The end.